Welcome on into the Wolverine.com podcast. Clayton Safey here with Anthony Broom and Chris Ballas on October 30th, 2025, one day before Halloween, 2 days before Michigan takes on Purdue. We're going to preview that game, talk all things Michigan football. We'll make picks for not only this game, but also some games around the country against the spread in our final segment. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like the video. Give us a subscribe as well. And you can head to thewolverine.com right now. You can use the promo code UM1 for 2 months of access for just $1. So you're through December 30th at this point, 50 cents per month for the next two. We're talking bowl season, playoff, all of that. Transfer portal will be opening up a few days after that. Tons coming over at thewolverine.com. So perfect time to get in. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. What's your final score prediction for the game this weekend? How do you think it's going to go? We'd love to see those and see who gets it right on there. Hopefully somebody does. Fellas, how are we doing?
Doing good, other than this stupid night game in November against a shitty team. Other than that, it's fantastic. This game should be played at 12 o'clock. Let's be honest. How many people are not going to go? There are tickets I can't give away, literally. So come on, people, let's be smarter. But other than that, get off my lawn and let's do it.
Counterpoint, if you ever wanted to go to a Michigan night game, this is one that seems like it would be easy to get into. So I was grumpy about the night game earlier this week, still somewhat grumpy about it from a work perspective. But, anytime you get the opportunity to play under the lights with a very young Michigan team, that's something that they're going to have to get used to. And I think this will be the fifth. It's either the fourth or the fifth 7:30 kick that they'll have had in 9 games this year, which is, they have a lot of experience in it now. So the chance to get right, it seems like there are going to be a few guys that are held out. So opportunity for other guys, find a way to get yourself a somewhat lopsided win and go to the bye and get yourself healthy and prepare for the 3-game stretch run.
It's one thing if it's a big game right at home, right? Or if it's on the road and you're like, okay, Minnesota wants a night game and it sparks a little bit more interest or something like that. But this game at home against this opponent just doesn't make any sense. And I think you're seeing the availability of tickets. I think the fans feel the same way. So it is what it is. We'll be there. We'll have fun. We'll be able to watch college football all day and spend a little more time tailgating. It might be 3 sheets to the wind when we get up there, but hey,
speak for yourself.
Hey, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm talking about this guy right here. So, but we'll still try to handle ourselves like professionals, at least to the extent that we do anyway, and see what happens.
Yeah, that's right. This game actually 7 o'clock kick, not the typical 7:30 night game. So I guess you get that, plus you get the extra hour of sleep on Saturday night. So night games are always electric at the Big House, and just blessed to be able to cover any game, and just blessed to have a game to cover this weekend. So we won't have one next weekend, which is disappointing with a 2-bye year, but kind of a weird season. And oddly enough, 40 some days between with just one home game between the last home game against Washington and the final home game against Ohio State. It's just this Purdue game because you have the bye in there. You have 3 road games. Just an odd season. Next year will be 7 or 8 home games, depending on whether or not they do the game in Germany against Western Michigan, which makes a lot of sense, right? You play a team hour and a half away, 7-hour plane ride away, but it could be another weird year, I guess, in that regard, but a little bit more normal with the amount of home games next season. Let's get into it. This game is a 7 o'clock kick. Its official kickoff is 7:10 over on the Big Ten Network with Jeff Levering, the 2-time All-American Jake Butt, and Brooke Fletcher on the call. Michigan coming in 6-2 overall, 4-1 in the Big Ten. Purdue's 2-6, 0-5 in Big Ten play. And Purdue is just having a rough go, to put it mildly. And, when you look at what their season is and really their last few years, but they've lost 14 straight Big Ten games, 11 straight Big Ten road games. They haven't won a Big Ten road game since November 26th, 2022. That was a 30-16 win over Indiana. That was under Jeff Brom. That was 2 head coaches ago for Purdue. Jeff Brom is now in his 3rd season at Louisville. Indiana, the team they beat, is now number 2 in the country in their second year under Curt Cignetti. So it's amazing how much has gone on since Purdue's last won a Big Ten road game. They've lost 6 in a row this season. They ended last year on an 11-game losing streak under Ryan Walters before he was fired. And they're coming off of an absolutely gut-wrenching loss against Rutgers at home. It's 24-24. They get the ball back at the 30-yard line. They're going down maybe to get a game-winning field goal. First play, Ryan Brown drops back. Ball gets batted at the line of scrimmage. He catches it himself, gets a reception on his own pass, starts running, and then fumbles. And then Rutgers gets it. They kick a game-winning field goal as time expired. So it's one thing to lose 19-0 to Northwestern like they did the week before, but another thing to think you have a win for the first time in over a month and not get it. Michigan, on the other hand, just trying to keep those college football playoff hopes alive, trying to hang around in the chase on a 2-game winning streak. So it would be a great opportunity to kind of keep that winning momentum going, fix some of the things that haven't gone well lately, and have some momentum going into the bye week, because it could be a pretty fun November, if you start off with a dominant performance here.
That's a lot of words for what should be a really crappy game. Michigan is favored by 3 scores. What's the spread now? 21.5 or something like that. And I think part of that is only because people are not sold on the Michigan offense. I think the Michigan defense continues to play better. And then, of course, you can always get the garbage time touchdown in there like Michigan State did. But this is one of those games where, okay, you got past the meat of the schedule as it pertains to the scary games, right? The road games, the 3 that we were always talking about, and said they got to win 2 of those. Michigan State could be tricky if they were any good, but they sucked. So you just hold your breath and get through that week. And now it's Purdue at Northwestern, where it's going to be a ton of Michigan fans at Wrigley Field, and then at Maryland, where there will also be a ton of Michigan fans. And people are looking at that as a tricky trap game because it's before Ohio State, but that's not a very good team either. So these are 3 games you definitely should win. Michigan is better in every facet against Purdue. We can talk about it and analyze it, but that's really what it comes down to, fellas. This is a game that Michigan has no business losing and will not lose on Saturday night.
I think so much of how I view these next 3 weeks, and we sort of talked about it on Monday, is through the lens of how ready are you for that game at the end of the year. Like we said before, there's probably going to be a couple guys that are held out. I'm sure we'll get into that when we talk offense, defense. But for the groups that matter, I'm talking your freshman quarterback, the offensive line, the passing game, continuing to get some of these younger guys reps on defense. This is still, I don't care what these games, I don't care if they're ugly, if they're blowout, whatever they are. Like, you want to continue to see progress in those areas. And to be frank, finally start hammering some of these teams. They should have blown out Nebraska. They were, you could still make the argument they sort of blew out Michigan State, but that was closer than it needed to be. I think the next step for this team is putting teams away. And you've got 3 pretty bad teams on the schedule. Compare Purdue to, the Wisconsin team that Michigan saw earlier this year. Wisconsin probably wins that game by 8, 9, 10 points. You put them on a neutral field with Michigan State. Michigan State probably wins by 2 touchdowns, maybe more than that. This is a Purdue team that, like you said, last week was a gut wrencher. It's heartbreaking. You're sitting here at 2-6. You've lost 6 games in a row, and your next 4 now are you're going to go play at Michigan. You host Ohio State. You go out to Washington and you host Indiana. They are not winning a game the rest of the year. So the only thing they have to play for is pride and maybe putting some good things on film for not being portaled over next year by Barry Odom and his staff. So for Michigan, I think regardless of who's out there Saturday, I think this is all about finally taking a mature step forward and playing the most complete football game they can to this point. Coming into last year, or that Northwestern game last year, for example, we probably did a show that's pretty similar to this. But I'm not sure this team is very good. And then Northwestern sucks, but then they drop a 50 burger out of the clouds. And that's a gear we didn't know that team had last year. So I'd like to start seeing that gear and start peeling this back a bit heading into the month of November.
Sharon Moore told his team at halftime at the Central Michigan game, put these guys away, to the starters, finish these guys so we can, it was Biff Poggi at halftime of the CMU game saying, do your job so that the other guys can get in the football game and they can have that experience playing. And Michigan hasn't had a ton of garbage time moments. He had the one at USC when all the backups were in and Jaden Davis threw the interception, but you want to have it when you're up big at home in front of your crowd. Those guys get the experience at the big house. So that's one of the goals with this game outside of winning and staying healthy. So we shall see how it goes. We'll break it down. And if you do want to go to the game, then Gametime is really the place to get your tickets. Shout out to our sponsor, Gametime. You can go to this one at the big house and take the stress out of buying tickets with Gametime. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of the Wolverine podcast. It's the best place to buy tickets. And the Gametime guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. I was seeing earlier tickets as low as $50, including fees, to get in to Michigan against Purdue on Gametime. They have exclusive discounts like zone deals. You choose the section, Gametime selects the seat, and you save. With Gametime, it's easy to find and buy college football tickets and tickets for every kind of event in your area, including next summer, Morgan Wallen coming to the big house. You can get those there when the time comes as well. The fees are included with the prices, so know your total up front. No surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ON3. That's ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. Michigan's offense kind of looking to be a little bit more balanced, I would say, against this Purdue defense that is really, really bad across the board, maybe outside of their two middle linebackers who are solid, but they're 98th in total defense, 93rd in scoring defense, 75th in rushing defense, and 106th in passing defense. They're allowing a bunch of big plays, 29 passing plays of 20-plus yards. I would say coming out of this one, you want to win, you want to stay healthy, as you mentioned. Those are the two goals that I always have going into a game like this. Number one's win. You want to win big, but I would be disappointed if Bryce Underwood didn't get going in this game as well.
That's what I said last week against one of the worst passing defenses
Yeah.
in college football. That was ridiculous, to be honest with you. And you know what? 276 yards rushing, I am never going to discount that and say, wow, that's, the offense didn't do enough, so on and so forth. But the passing game needs to be better than that. And I think he's more comfortable at home for whatever reason. And he looked skittish in the pocket, maybe like he didn't trust some of his pass protection, even when it was there, guys. There were a couple plays that I went back and watched. There was a play action in third quarter or fourth quarter early where Marlon Klein breaks off the line and there's nobody there. And he was already bailing out of the pocket, even though he had time. Otherwise, you're looking at a big play. The pass protection has been leaky at times, which you're going to expect when you have three redshirt freshmen up there and a couple guys that have been hurt. So you got a couple guys playing in their only second, third starts, right? Like Blake Frazier at left tackle. But you want to see this thing getting into gear where, okay, Bryce Underwood looks really, really comfortable and doesn't look like a freshman anymore, like he kind of did in that Michigan State game. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. I do think he'll have a big game on Saturday night. I think that they are going to look more like a Chip Lindsey offense than whatever the hybrid offense is that we're seeing. Sharon Moore and Lindsey and everybody else. Grant Newsome had a hand in it apparently, and everybody's, a lot of cooks in the kitchen there. But I do think we're going to see more of what a Chip Lindsey offense normally looks like on Saturday night. So I want to see them get the receivers a little bit more involved. Love to see the tight ends involved again, guys. And but more importantly, get those guys up front playing well together, because this might well be the five that you have going into that Ohio State game, maybe.
Yeah, that chemistry is super important. And when we talk good Bryce, bad Bryce, if we just follow the pattern of the season, the pendulum swings back to Bryce Underwood being at home and looking far more veteran than he has on the road. Regardless of where they played this game, I think that would probably be the case. The Michigan State game is, regardless of how terrible the team is, there's still a different level of intensity in that rivalry. And you had three redshirt freshmen starting up front. And I'm not making excuses. You have a true freshman quarterback. At this point, it's disappointing, but we shouldn't be surprised when there are these sort of outlier performances, because when you have young players that you're building around, that's well within the range of outcomes. But this is a week where, they have Purdue has a little bit of size up front, but this is a group that isn't talented anywhere on the defense. There's not a guy on that defense where you kind of circle and go, well, this guy's, that's a matchup that could be a problem for them. So really, I think you just want to continue to see the maturity with him that we saw during the Washington game, where you're content to take what the defense gives you, or if you see something that's wide open, that you have the awareness to kind of step up, rip it, and make that play happen. It's still very much a work in progress, and I think it's far too premature to say, oh, maybe he was overrated, or maybe this offensive system is crap and doesn't work. I just think week to week, it's just going to vary a bit because there's just so much newness everywhere. And they would argue that, oh, well, by this time you're not really a freshman anymore, but you still are. I mean, these are guys, even, your most experienced offensive lineman right now in terms of starts is a guy like Greg Crippen, but then Andrew Sprague is still a redshirt freshman. You have a couple other guys who are still coming to their own. So for me, I think it's just turn the page from last week. The book on Bryce Underwood has been typically he doesn't make the same mistake twice, game to game or practice to practice. So I'm sure the focus this week was cleaning things up, and I'm not going to be surprised if several guys in the passing game have big games in this one, because I think the ingredients are there for this to be his most explosive game yet in a much friendlier environment.
The RPOs are kind of interesting because they were making a lot of progress with those going into the Michigan State game. If you look at Washington, I mean, he goes 4 of 5 for 37 yards, and then they handed it off 10 times for 52 yards, 5.2 yards per carry. They had run 15 in that game, 27 against USC, 19 against Wisconsin. Those numbers pretty high. 19 against Michigan State, but he favors the R over the P in that one. 19, but 17 rush attempts on those. He goes 0 for 1 passing, and there was one scramble in there. There were some times when he probably should have thrown the football as well. So part of it's not just the play call. Was he not comfortable? Was some of the pressure that he got early on, did that get to him where then he was – and part of it too is the mindset on the sideline, and what they said at halftime was we are going to run right at him. So he's probably thinking that way as well. Like, okay, something really bad could happen if I make a mistake throwing it. But if I hand it off to Justice Haynes or Jordan Marshall, things are at least going to go okay. And they did have the one fumble, actually. But so that was a mistake on, one of the runs. But it'll be interesting to see because Purdue brings a lot of blitz because they basically have no shot of stopping the run on the early downs. Tom Dienhart from Golden Black was saying, they're taking a lot of risks early downs to try to stuff you, and then you get in 3rd and 8, and then they hold their breath and see if it's a 50-50 shot, if they can get off the field. So they're going to bring those blitzes, and you're running an RPO. I mean, just throw it, right where the guy's blitzing from if you have that call on. So maybe they'll get back on track in that regard in this game. So yeah, I think that you're going to lean on the run because you can do it, but also you just want to see that passing game going. It's going to be a lot of Jordan Marshall. I don't expect Justice Haynes to play probably for a while. So that's tough for this offense. But Jordan Marshall's as good of a backup running back as you have in the country.
Yep, and I think he's going to get his share of carries. I think next we talk about the player of the game, offensive player of the game. Is that what we do at this point? And I'm going with Bryce. Underwood.
Later in the show.
Yeah, I'm going with Bryce Underwood because I think this is the game where I think Marshall will have a big game, but again, I do think he's more comfortable at home, and I do think that they're going to turn him loose a little bit more, like a Chip Lindsey offense. They aren't going to go into that shell that they went into in the second half against Michigan State, even though it worked, right? And you wish they would have gone and handed it, like we said, we wish they would have handed it off twice inside the 3-yard line early on. So to me, we've said, we've spent a lot of time talking. We could spend a lot of time talking about X's and O's. If these guys execute and if they do what we expect them to do, then they're going to put up their 30-something points. Right? It's usually not more than that with this offense, and especially with the running. They're going to bleed a little bit of clock as well. So they don't seem to be in any hurry to do anything tempo-wise or anything like that anymore, like they did early in the year. So. But yeah, it's, to me, you put up your 34, move on healthy, get your bye and get some guys back, and then call it a day.
Nothing more to add there. I just think I feel like I've said this several weeks in a row. I think this matchup could allow for their most complete offensive performance yet against a Power 4 team, but now we need to see it.
We're still waiting for it. Yeah, it'd be a great time for it. So we shall see what the Michigan offense does. Let's flip it over to the Michigan defense against the Purdue offense, and you're banged up on defense as well. Cole Sullivan hurt, Jimmy Rolder hurt, Troy Bowles will step up at linebacker. We might see some Chase Taylor or Nathaniel Owusu Boateng as well. Rod Moore, probably wait till after the bye, I would imagine, for him as well. But you shouldn't need all your horses. It should be a game where you can get by, certainly, and to win the game, but also probably dominate the game. When you look at Purdue statistically, they're 70th in total offense, 101st in scoring offense, 86th in rushing offense, tied 56 in passing offense. And they're banged up. Ryan Brown, the quarterback, had an injury a couple weeks ago against Northwestern. He came back and started last week, but they're kind of not running him as much. You're seeing Malachi Singleton, a big-bodied 235-pound runner who's pretty effective in short yardage situations. He's getting in there and taking those reps. Devin Mockabee, the running back who's been here forever and started the Big Ten championship game against Michigan in 2022, is probably not going to play. He got hurt and limped off and didn't look right in last week's game. But they do have some other good running backs. Those guys are pretty darn good, all things considered, probably some of their best players on their team. So maybe they pop a run. We've seen that the last couple of weeks for them, and they get into field goal range or something like that, or maybe they score. But other than that, you're looking at an offense that doesn't have much juice to it, playing against a banged-up Michigan defense, but should be able to get after them. Ryan Brown is completing 59.5% of his passes for 1,689 yards, 8 touchdowns, 7 picks. They've really struggled with turnovers, 15 this year. So it's a good opportunity to just kind of smother these guys and keep the defensive momentum going that Michigan has had over the last few weeks. Because coming off the USC game, when the starters are in at least, and before there are 7 seconds left in the garbage time drive against Michigan State, it's been impressive the way they've responded.
Yep, and this is another chance, obviously, against an overmatched team to continue that. So if they have to, they can move Jayshon Barham back to linebacker as well, guys. If Rolder and Sullivan don't play, Cole Sullivan will not play. Jimmy Rolder, I would imagine, will show up as questionable or out as well. There's no reason to play guys that don't have to play in this game. If it were Ohio State, you'd see a lot of guys out there that might not be playing on Saturday. So, one thing you want to do, you make sure you prepare for the unexpected, right? In this game, I remember, and I just wrote this in the keys to the game, and Rich Rod's first year when they threw Justin Siller out there and Michigan switched to a 3-3-5 and absolutely got torched, right? Maybe they go to a run-happy offense with their quarterback or something like that and say, give them a look that they haven't seen yet, maybe something like that. But I trust Wink Martindale to make adjustments. He gets a bad rap at times, right? Always, all he does is blitz, blah, 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 blah. That's not the case. You got to know what you're looking at, right, to evaluate film like our guys do here at the Wolverine.com, our coaches. And so not a concern. It'd be disappointing if they scored more than 13 points. You never know, guys, with like the garbage time touchdown for Michigan State. That was really a 31-13 game, if we're being honest. And, you can get that late score or whatever. But if these guys march the field on you, then you're not doing your job. So this should be, again, one of those games where if these guys show up, if Michigan shows up and guys do their jobs, it's going to be an easy win.
Yeah, last week, something that went well for Purdue and why it almost won their first game in Big Ten play is they ran for over 200 yards. Popped runs of 32, 57, 37 yards. You take those explosives out of it and you set up your run wall the way that they have since that USC game. I'm not seeing where the playmaking is coming from. Now, again, this has been a Michigan defense at times, and I get that Wink Martindale has gotten a bad rap, but there have been times where guys have been in position and they don't make a play or you drop an interception. And this should be thorough and decisive, given that they have been susceptible to a couple busts here and there. And this is a Purdue team that is maybe scrappy is not the word, but they put up 30 on Notre Dame. I think they put up 27 or 28 against Illinois. If you give them an opportunity to make some plays, they have guys that can do that, but they don't have nearly enough of it. And I don't think that they have the ability to test Michigan in some of the areas that Michigan has gotten exposed in this year. So you set up that run wall, you get after the quarterback. I think this is going to be a big game for the pass rush again. It's tough to break it down because I just don't see anything here that registers as, a huge red flag for me.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those games where it's 1 yard run on first down, 2-yard run on second down, get after him on third, and probably a lot of quick 3-and-outs. And I think Michigan's going to score a ton of points because of that. Tom Dienhart of Golden Black is just one of the best in the business. Used to be on BTN. I mean, I was literally cracking up. I had to mute myself on the phone with him a couple days ago because of just the way he described this Purdue offense. I just want to read it for the people who haven't checked that out over at thewolverine.com. He says, I will say this in Ryan Brown's defense, the wide receiving core is an abomination. They dropped the ball. The tight end position is an abomination. Probably the best player on the team is a tight end. He got hurt up at Notre Dame. So they're left with 3 basic stiffs who are just like glorified linemen for the most part. Later on, he went on.
There's no sugarcoating there, folks.
You don't even get Chris Ballas talking like that about the team.
Not usually.
Not on the record. Yeah.
Not on the record, exactly.
And I mean, the secondary is a little bit of an abomination. And then there's this guy, and I meant to mention it with the defense. So he's talking about their corner. Let's see.
Traffic cone?
4. Essentially a traffic cone. He said he got dusted against Northwestern. He got dusted last week. And you think to yourself, is there anyone better than Hadori Hines? And then you look over on the bench and you say, nah, I guess not. And so he just gets burned over and over. And you saw it. Rutgers went deep on him a few times in the fourth quarter to really kind of spark them winning that game. He's just nowhere near his guy. There was a busted coverage for a deep ball. This could look like New Mexico, Bryce Underwood, to go on that side of the ball based on what Dienhart's comments are. This could look like a Michigan defense that just absolutely shut down like the CMU. I mean, this team's more like CMU or New Mexico, I think, than even Michigan State or Wisconsin. And maybe that's a little harsh, but and New Mexico's 5-2, by the way, this year, or 5-3. So they're a solid group with 5 team, but this team is more like, it's worse than Barry Odom's UNLV teams, I guess is my point. But Tom Dienhart, appreciate his insight. I mean, it was great insight on what Michigan's going against. And obviously you kind of feel for guys covering a team like that, and then, we've had it in basketball and certainly.
I was just about to say, it's the exact way we covered basketball 2 years ago.
And Rich Rod, the Rich Rod era. Yeah,
I was going to say I wasn't covering that, but that was part of my childhood. And
I would not wish that upon any of you young guys.
Well, we witnessed it though.
I know you did, but don't you appreciate it when people don't sugarcoat shit, right? Yeah. I mean, I kind of told you like it. Totally, you tell it like it is, and everybody thinks you're negative Nancy and so on and so forth. But if you don't provide the honesty, but at least what you believe, then you don't have any credibility. And so I give credit to Tom Dienhart, who I love. That guy's a great guy. Just made my day, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll see him up on the press box. He said he's excited to see all of us and get back to the big house. But yeah, it's the basic stiffs. I mean, that's when I had to mute myself when he called the tight ends basic stiffs. Let's get our predictions for this game and break down what we think is going to happen. And it's brought to you by BetMGM. The Wolverines teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we have special offers for our listeners each week. This week, go for the end zone without breaking a sweat with a Pro Football No Sweat token. You'll get your stake back in bonus bets if you don't win. So claim your Odds Boost token. Be sure to activate it before placing your bet. Same with the No Sweat token. The game is about to kick off, so feel the rush and own the moment. BetMGM, make it legendary. All right, our offensive player of the game. Chris, you're on the record with Bryce Underwood. I'm going to go with Jordan Marshall. And Anthony, who do you have as your offensive player of the game?
I'm going to play the hits. Let's go with Andrew Marsh. I think he's going to have 100 yards and maybe double-digit targets this week.
Nice.
If he's matched up on Hadori Hines at any point,
or
he's going to have some room. And same with Tony Grimes, who Michigan apparently targeted in the transfer portal. Okay corner, but yeah, these guys are allowing a lot of big plays. That would be great to see. And Donovan McCulley going against his former rival as well. That would be nice to see. I actually gave away my X factor. Defensive player of the game. Chris, who do you have here?
Derek Moore. I think Derek's going to be another big game. He's really come on, guys. He looks healthy. Looks like the pass rusher that we expected him to be. I think he's going to dominate up front, and you're going to see another big game from him.
I feel like it's been a couple weeks since we heard from Jayshon Barham. This feels like a Jayshon Barham 2-sack type of game, so I'm going to go with him.
I like it. I have Derek Moore as well. He should have had 3 sacks with the intentional grounding last week. And there might even have been a holding in there when he got in. which is very rare. But I think that Derek Moore is going to have a big game. But I think all those guys should feast up front. My X factor, as I teased or let slip, is Donovan McCulley. Chris, who do you have as your X factor this week?
Tight end. Let's go with Marlon Klein.
Okay.
I think he's due for a big game here, and it's time for Michigan to find the tight ends again. I think this is the game.
I'm going to go with Troy Bowles, a guy who looks like he's going to get some extended run on defense. I think this is a good game for him to get some experience, and I wouldn't be surprised if he made a few big plays as well. Anthony,
what is your final score prediction?
So I wound up, I have to remember. I think I went with 34-14 is what I picked in our staff picks this week. This could be like the Wisconsin game where they win 24-10. It could be like the Northwestern game where they win 50-6. I have no idea what's going to happen. I just know that the game will probably be closer than the spread says it will be, because that's what they've done all year. And there will be a garbage time score at the end that makes it look closer than it was.
I got 34-13. That just seems about right for a game like this, right? And again, Michigan's not putting up huge points in any game against anybody. It's still clunky, as our Doug Skeen would say, our analyst. And, even when everybody's like, how is Purdue going to score 13 points? Well, it takes one missed tackle, right? Like in the Michigan State game on the big run, or a couple missed tackles, or one big play where a guy blows a coverage to get 6. So I'm going with 34-13.
When people say stuff like that, I feel like sometimes they just forget how a game goes. Maybe we forget in the middle of the week, but Wisconsin had 10, Washington had 7. It doesn't mean Wisconsin's offense is better. It's just things happen on a certain week. So, I have Purdue getting to 10, but I have Michigan getting to 52. I think a ton of quick stops, some big plays. You jump on them early. What may hurt this is you bring the backups in maybe at some point late in the third quarter. So, if the game's going like that, you kind of need some maybe to be a little bit tighter, and then you pull away. But I'm going to go with that as my prediction. And Tom Dienhart, by the way, of Golden Black, had 35-10 in his prediction on our feature there. And you can read all of our staff predictions over at thewolverine.com. That includes Ethan McDowell, Doug Skeen, John Borton as well. Final segment, which I'm really looking forward to, is No Man Knows the Future. Wise man once used to order tuna on toast all the time. The waitress would come up to him and say, tuna on toast, right? And then one day he decided to do the opposite. And he went with chicken salad on rye, untoasted with a side of potato salad and a cup of tea. That man's name is George Costanza. We have Anthony Broom in our presence, who last week went with the Costanza method and said he's going with the opposite of all of his instincts. And George Costanza, watching the clip earlier, one of the greatest lines of all time. Every decision that I've ever made in my entire life has been wrong. Anthony, I don't think that's a case for you. You've made a lot of great decisions.
My name's Anthony. I live at home with my parents, and I'm unemployed. I'm bald and I'm unemployed. Now, he's none of those things. However, he did.
I'm Victoria. Hi. Yeah.
And so
tell the people what I did already.
I know. Well, I was trying to lead. I'm trying to be dramatic.
Sorry, I can't help it.
Anthony went 5-0 last week.
Wow.
And he is creeping up towards 500 again. He's 18-22-1. I mean, he's back in the race.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, water finds its level,
Yeah.
I went 3-2 last week. Chris, you went 3-2 last week. I'm 20-20-1. Chris still in the lead at 22-18-1. So we got a little bit of a race here coming on the last 4 or 5 weeks. So it's going to be exciting. We'll pick games next week, even though Michigan doesn't play, and we'll keep this going. But excited that, I couldn't believe it when I was going through it today, and I was like, the George Costanza method worked.
That's freaking so good. I'm going to pee myself. That's a classic. All right.
Well, considering, didn't I have an 0 for 5 earlier this year?
You did.
I think so.
Well, see, we're right back to square one, baby. It always works out.
That's right. And we got 5 this week. So sometimes we've had 4, sometimes we have 5. This is another opportunity, one, to either tank or to gain some ground as well, and for Chris to extend his lead, depending on how he does. Let's start with Penn State at number 1, Ohio State. Ohio State, 20.5-point favorite. Over-under is 44.5. Noon on Fox. This was supposed to be like the game of the season in college football. I figured let's still pick it because it's Penn State, Ohio State. But I'm going to go Penn State. I have no reason why. I just think that's a lot of points. That's it.
I think they're going to come out and play hard. I do. I'm with you. I think 20.5 is a lot. I don't think OSU is a I don't, they're methodical this year. They're not going to put up a ton of points quickly, in my opinion, especially on this Penn State defense, as long as they show up. So damn it, guys, show up and play with some pride. I agree with you, Clay. I think they stay within the 20.5.
My gut instinct was to agree with you, but we're riding a high right now. So give me the Buckeyes. Penn State is ass.
I love it. Stick to the winning strategy. Number 9 Vanderbilt at number 20 Texas. Texas is a 2.5-point favorite. Over under is 45.5. This one also noon on ABC. So a good slate to watch as we before we head over to the big house. Anthony, we'll go the other way around. So you can't do this and go against us too. But what do you got?
Oh, that's tough. I feel like everything on paper, especially now. Let me ask you this: is Arch Manning out of this game? Is he concussed?
I'm not. Do we know yet? I thought it was still up in the air.
Arch Manning or not, give me Texas. I feel like there's going to be a little chaos here in the SEC down the stretch. I don't 100% believe it, but I'll take Texas in this game.
So last update was he practiced, but he's still in protocol, and he's iffy against Vanderbilt. So, yeah, we don't know.
I don't think Vanderbilt's ready to win this game yet, and I don't think they're ready to stay within 2.5. I like Texas by 3 to 7 points in this game. I'll take Texas.
I have Texas too. I'm with you guys. They haven't played a home game since September 20th because the Red River shootout, and then they've had road games, and it's a 2-bye year, and it's just weird. So, and I think they've improved since the Sam Houston State game to now, even though the Kentucky game a couple weeks ago was weird. So I think at home they're going to be, their fans are going to be excited to be back there. It's a top 10 team they're playing, but is Vandy really that good? We'll see. So I have Texas as well. Number 23, USC at Nebraska. USC is a 6.5-point favorite. Over under is 59.5, 7:30 on NBC. And Matt Rule's got his extension, all this stuff. Chris, what do you have in this one?
That whole road home thing, guys, in the Big Ten is something to consider here, right? It's not 3 time zones, though. I think it's only 2, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Nebraska sucks. I really do. And USC hasn't been great on the road, but I think they're explosive enough that they are going to move the ball on this Nebraska team and cover that 6.5. Not real confident about it, but I'm going to take them.
Yeah, USC hasn't really had the embarrassing out of nowhere loss this year. And my instinct is to pick that to happen. But again, riding the hot hand with how things went last week, I'm going to go with USC to put them on them. 38-28 will be the score.
I have USC too. It's not as long of a road trip. They played better against Notre Dame on the road than they did the first time at Illinois in the Midwest. They at least hung in there for a while, really until that kick return touchdown. Nebraska, it's going to be a hell of an environment. Like, that is going to be an awesome environment. We've experienced it back in 2021, the night game and all that, and Thunderstruck. But and Matt Rule's staying, and their fans, I guess, should be excited about that or whatever. But I got USC. Number 18, Oklahoma at number 14, Tennessee. Tennessee's a 3-point favorite. Over-unders 56.5, 7:30 on ABC. I will take Tennessee. I think their offense is legit, and I don't really think Oklahoma's that good anymore. They were at the beginning of the year, but after the Mateer injury, it's been different.
I think Mateer isn't who he was. I think he's banged up, and he's not the same quarterback. I'm with you. I like Tennessee to cover the 3.
I think Mateer rushed back. I think either he rushed back or he was rushed back, and I think it's going to ruin their season. Give me Tennessee.
But if you think that, then shouldn't you pick Oklahoma?
No. That criteria only applies when I feel like it.
I know. I know someone heading towards a 1-4 finish this week. All right, continue.
Probably me, to be honest. Last one, and this one has some implications on, I think Michigan fans should be rooting for a team in this matchup, and it is number 17, Cincinnati at number 24, Utah. You probably want Utah to win and hand Cincinnati a second loss, because Cincinnati has not lost since that 3-point setback in the first Thursday of the season against Nebraska at Arrowhead. It's a bad loss now, but they've won a lot of games straight. Utah is a 10.5-point favorite. Over-under is 55.5. 10:15 on ESPN, so we'll be writing after the game. This one will still be on, which I'm excited about. Who wants to start on this one?
Go ahead, Anthony.
I'll go. Kind of a similar sort of traveling several time zones twist, but in the Big 12. I like Utah in this game. I think that they win this by more than 10.5.
Really tough place to play, guys. That crowd is amazing. If you've been to Utah, you know what I'm talking about. I think Utah takes care of business and wins this one by 15 points or so.
There may not be that much movement in the standings because a lot of us have the same picks. I got Utah too. I think their quarterback's back, Dampier, and they've been really good when he's in the lineup, and they've been really good at home this year as they are pretty much every season. So I got Utah handing Cincinnati that second loss, Utah staying alive, kind of like Michigan with 2 losses. This was kind of a week coming into the year where this was like a no fall weddings. If you're doing anything but watching football on this Saturday, you're crazy. Hasn't turned into that due to some teams really having terrible seasons that you thought were going to be good, but it's still a good slate of college football. Excited for it. I think that is going to be our show for this week, and we will see people hopefully at the Big House on Saturday. Make sure to give us a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, head to thewolverine.com. You can use the promo code UM1 right now for 2 months of access for just $1, and we'll see everyone next time.